All right, let's do another video. Right, so what I want to do now is talk a little bit about Axios. So let's jump on in and make a new repository. Just to give a little bit of context. Call it Axios Lab or something, doesn't really matter, it's just something to use. So let's add a README, put a node get ignoring for now, give an MIT license, and keep it public. It's a great repository. Now I'm going to grab this and let's open up a command prompt. Let's do a git clone of the repository. Change directory to it. Open up VS Code. Okay, so we don't really have much in here. I'm going to start by making some sort of backend. Let's do it npm init-y. Let's start making something. Let's close that. Now we've got a package JSON with nothing specific. I'm just going to do something like server, or actually server, yeah, server, and then put something like nodemon index.js. Or actually no, server.js. Call it server. Save that. Now I'm going to install a couple of things. So I'm going to do a npm I express -- save. What else do I want? I want nodemon as well, I suppose. Dev. We do that. Good stuff. Let's think, what else could I do with I don't know whether to do like a SQLite 3 or a MongoDB or something, just something to do stuff with. Nah, we're just going to do the Axios calls anyway, so I'll just be doing gets anyway. So we'll just give it. I don't really need login stuff or anything like that. I'm going to leave it at that for the moment until I've kind of decided what else deal with at this point. So now we've got some node modules to work with. We've got the ability to kind of build out stuff in Express, let's say. I'm going to keep it super simple. I'm just going to put pretty much everything in the one file for the server. You can split this up. I've done this in the past. We split up into controllers, models, routes, and all that. But this is just so that we can get Axios going. So for our purposes, I need to make a new thing called server.js. Let's bring this up a bit. Now that we've got this, I'm going to basically utilize Express. So I'm going to want to do const Express is equal to require Express. This is just to get it up and running. That should be fine. So I'm going to do const app is equal to Express const port is equal to, I don't know, 5555 or something. It doesn't really matter too much. Let's do an app.use express .json. And then let's make some route. Let's say app.use get slash, and then we'll do a arrow function here using the standardized request response, and we will give back a response JSON of time to code. Okay, and then we're going to listen on a port. So app.listen on the port, and we'll have a quick callback function. Console.log server listening on port. There we go. Super simple, basic, should work. Right, so now we've got our sort of Express server. Let's go run it. Open a new terminal. I'm going to do a npm run server. And there we go, we're running. We're listening on port 5555. So let's try it out. Let's see if it works. Open up new tab, localhost, :5555. And there we go, time to code, working great. So we've now got a basic sort of server with no particular response. Let's say that we've got an app.get on, let's say, Fizz. When we hit Fizz, we're going to respond with something now. res.json of Fizz data. I have to make Fizz data somewhere. Let's just make const Fizz data equals an object with Fizz. Let's say was foo baz Fizz, whatever, doesn't really matter. It's just some data of some sort. And let's make another one, const buzz data. Make that an array of objects with I don't know, ID 1, name Fizz. Let's do that, and then we'll make a couple of these things here. Do those. So 2, 3, 4 was through. Doesn't really matter what the data is, as long as we can see what's happening here. We've got shapes of stuff. Okay. So now that we've got these things, let's see. So Fizz data, we can have a rec res. Okay. And do the same sort of thing to buzz. Res. Yep. Okay. Okay. We can give it a status if we want as well. That's status 200 adjacent to that. Status 200 with adjacent to that. Let's do that way. We've got basically just these two things here. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment we've got two endpoints. We've got fizz and we got buzz. Each one gives us some sort of data. This one's just an object with some things in. This one's an object with, or rather an array with a bunch of objects in. Okay, so let's try and hit these then. I'm going to hit the fizz and then the buzz and see what we get, just to make sure we've got as expected. So slash fizz gives us fizz, buzz, foo, bar, baz, fizz. And then if we hit buzz, we get an array with ID 1, 2, 3, 4 with some stuff in. Yeah. So now we've got these two endpoints that give us some stuff back, right? So now let's think of a front end, something super simplistic for a front end, but we'll still build it. Let's make something. I'm going to say I'm just going to make like a React application, just something super basic, nothing crazy. So let's go and have a look. Let's do Tailwind Vite. Let's just go and bootstrap a new application. Let's do this. Bang. Copy that. Let's go over here. I'm going to bootstrap an application. I don't want to call it my project. I'll just call this FE or something for the front end. So it's going to be the front end for that backend, basically. So I can cd into FE, npmi to install. Okay. Once that's installed, we'll go back over here. I'm going to make a new shell, cd into FE. Double check that this is, come on, almost installed. This is all the setup just to get to a point of literally going in and starting the Axios stuff. Again, this is all from scratch, you know, just purely off the cuff, just thinking about the idea of building out stuff. Okay, so that's done. So what I'm going to do is go to npm run dev. So I'll run our front end. Okay, so if I now go and, oops, if I now go and try to, come on, highlight the happening. There we go. Copy that. Let's go over here and go to the front end. We've now got our little Vite React application there. Great. It's got some bits on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that out a bit. Let's have a look at it. Source, app.jsx. Don't particularly want any of this. I can go. I'll just say each one. Time to code. Save that. Get rid of the state stuff there. Get rid of the logos and the use state and all that stuff. Clean it all up nice and clean. And then pop back to the web thing. Time to code. Great stuff. Let's bring this over here for a moment. And grab this over. Oh, it's being quite jumpy. Grab this over here. And get out to about there. There we go. Right, so now we got that. Let's put it in main. Don't want to do strict mode because I was going to keep doing auto multi-refresh. Let's clean that out. Save that. Index.css. Well, there's a lot of nice stuff in there, but no thanks. Right now, let's just clean it all out. There we go. Save that. What else have we got? Main app.css. Let's clean that lot out. Have a look. I think in the index.css, I'm going to add root of this margin 0, adding 0, box sizing for the box. and maybe a family of the partner or something like that. Just sounds really simple, to the point, and you're done. So a nice little quick reset to give it something there, just so I've got nice and clean stuff without too much craziness. I'll make sure that's saved. I think that's fine. So we can close the server because we know the server's there. Right, so we've got some super basic stylings to keep it clean. We have an app.jsx. I'm thinking that I want to make some state. So const this thing with the data and set the data equals use state. Okay, so now we've got an empty array, empty list, whatever you want to call it. Let's make a const initial data equal to an array. Let's build out some sort of a thing. So where are we? Let's nick this. I want this. Okay, I want this first. If it's data. I want that. Let's do that. Place that. Now, I also want was results. And that's going to be an array. Let's put these in. And I've hard coded stuff here. Okay. Super basic, super simple. We've got our stuff. It's doing things. The stuff we need. Okay. So we've got our expectation of data. We're going to set the data to this initial data in a moment. To do that, for now, I'm just going to make a use effect. Let's say that this use effect runs something, and the something will be set the data to be initial data. Okay. Just run that the first time we get it. Okay. So now we've set the state is set. The data is now this data here. Okay. So what I want to do next, just quickly, is to make the UI do something. I'm just going to say, let's think. I want to do the data dot map UI. You know what? I don't want to map over it. I'm just going to leave it for the moment because I've only got one item. So what I'm going to do is the data at 0. Okay. We've got our data at 0. And we want buzz results dot map. There we go. Okay. So we've got the item. Let's just do div. Give it a key equal to item.id. And let's say a H1, or actually a H2. Let's make that H2. We've already got H1. h2 of item dot name. BizBuzz food bar. There we go. So we've drilled into that data. Okay. We've got our demo data. It does its thing. We've got it doing its thing, right? Class name equals, I don't know. What we might be equal. Text, red, I don't know. Doesn't like text red. Are we? Oh, I know why. We haven't actually even got it. Okay, that's fine. It's kind of telling us that it's not fully set up. That's fine. That's just me kind of skipping some stuff. We do need to actually set up Tailwind for this to work. Let's just do that. We set up Tailwind in the front end. Paste it up, install the stuff. Has development dependencies, basically. This is only for CSS stuff anyway. It's not really that important for what we're actually doing. I just thought, why not? Let's just do it since we're. Let's copy this. Go into our Tailwind config. Start in. And set these up in our index.css. Where are we? Index.css, and that goes at the top. That. Okay, let's have a look. What else we got to do? We've done that. We've done that. That should be fine. I might need to restart the unit. Dev server. Code instance. What we might something's not happy. Buzz results. Why do we not like buzz results now? What's going on? What did I miss? Didn't have a problem a minute ago. It's just decided it does now. Can't read these things it was reading before with no problem whatsoever. Buzz results. Buzz results. There's nothing wrong with it, so I don't know quite why that's doing that. Let's just try it one more time. Inspect. Can't find property undefined reading buzz results. Wow. That's new. I'm going to take away this class name. It shouldn't have made any difference whatsoever, but you know, it's being a bit weird. Do we have anything strange going on? Is this because of the CSS stuff or something? What's this doing? Inspect. It's very strange. Very, very strange. Let's take away Tailwind completely. Still not happy. Wow. I'm reading the buzz results. How can it have a problem with buzz results? Nothing's changed. Use effect, use state. Use state, use effect. Okay, maybe it's happening too fast for it, in which case, question mark. There we go. That's all it was. It was trying to render a bit too quickly before it could pull that data. That's all that was. It was just me being a bit silly. Sorry about that. So it wasn't actually anything to do with Tailwind. It was just completely and utterly a That's a bit nice. We've got the tailwind stuff working now. That's kind of what I was expecting it to do. Apart from the fact that we don't really have any red. So I'll probably go and fluff that up somewhere. Oh, I took out the red thing, didn't I? Okay. Are we happy? Are we working? There we go. That's what I was expecting it to do, but no, apparently not. Okay, that's cool. And now I'm going to say text 3 Excel. There we go. We've got a nice chunky text there. Great stuff. That's awesome. Now we clear this and restart. We're good. It was just being weird. So we've got our basic starting point. Okay, this is we're now at the start. Now the reason why I wanted to do this was so that we've got some starting data. We've got an idea of what the data we're expecting for it to look like at the end, right? And how we're approaching getting to it. What we now need to do is we've got this hard-coded data. Now we need to change our use effect. So instead of setting it with just this initial data, it's setting it with the data based on hitting the back end. So if we look at the back end and we know that there's two pieces of data here, there's this fizz data, this buzz data, we need to make these two endpoints somehow represent the same shape as this initial data here. That's our job today. Okay. For those who actually followed along with this, well done. We've got to this point. Great work. Now what we're going to do is really do the thing that we need to do. We're going to get this refreshing on Axios. So what do we need to do? How can we use Axios? Let's have a look. How can we use Axios? So you got Axios, method, the URL, some data. We don't need any of that. Axios get, and Axios get, reason type, and a function. These are all way too complex for what we really, really want to do. All we want to do is we want to do an Axios get. Yeah. So that's all we want to do. We just want to do an Axios get. Can we do that? Getting started. Post requests, example. Let's go example, what we got. Require Axios. Require Axios. So we need to actually install Axios. We need to require it. Then we can do a get request. See, it's doing a get request here in its most simple form. Let's go and do that. Let's try and do that. So we know we need to install it. So let's go over here. npm install Axios. Let's just, there we go. Just so that we can do an Axios request. Okay, we've installed Axios. Now that we've got Axios, we need to import it. And we do that by const Axios is equal to require Axios. Okay. So there's quite a few ways how we can kind of approach getting this data. Let's make a little helper function to do so for a start. Function, get the data. Okay. Let's do an Axios call. Axios.get. Now, where were we? We're going to http://localhost:5555. Yeah. Slash. What is it we need? Let's have a look at our server again. We go and hit the fizz endpoint. Okay. So this is a thought process of what I would be doing. Can't figure this out. It needs to be a string. And I'm going to be hitting the fizz endpoint. Okay. And if you see, then response, handle whatever the response is. Catching errors. I'm going to leave the catch in the finally for the moment. I just want to kind of see where we get. So dot then. Let's call it res for response. Let's console.log res and see what we get. Okay. Does that sound right? Okay. So let's do that. Get the data. Save that. Let's go and take a look. Still does exactly the same thing because all we're doing is we're still setting it to static stuff. But if I now inspect and I go off and take a look at the console, what's it moaning about? Reference required, not defined, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry. I'm using require because I was looking at that saying require, but it's not. I'm kind of using the same stuff as I'll be using to thingy. So it's import Axios from Axios. What I was moaning about the require. Awesome. There we go. Uncourt, React DOM, Axios error, unknown adapter, blah, 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 blah. Unknown, this, that, the other. Unknown adapter, localhost fizz, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we've got a bit of a problem. What have we got a problem with? Let's take a look. Fizz, fizz, fizz. Oh, look. Get adapt. I didn't write adapter there. That I didn't notice, but it auto wrote adapter. That's what was a bit weird. So now here's what I was expecting. Network error, Axios error, network, config, problem, failed. 200 okay still. Interesting. But if you have a look, it has been blocked with a cause policy. Dun, dun, dun. You'll get this if your backend is not dealing with what we call cross-origin requests. If this is happening to you, you would need to add it to your server so you are dealing with those things. At the moment, we're not. So here's where we need to actually add another bit. So if we have a look at our external, the outside package JSON, look at what we've got. We've only got Express. We don't have any other things. But because we're hitting the back end with a front end, we now require something called cause to deal with the cross-origin site requests. This can be really, really finicky with Vite React apps. Okay. So we're going to go through the process of fixing this up so that it works first. Yeah. These are all sorts of real world things that you would come across when trying to build out backend front end locally. So the next step we're going to do is go over here. We're going to CD back into the backend. We're going to do a npm install cause. Now have cause. So we're going to go and edit the server.js, and then we're going to go const cause equals require cause. Remember that in our backend, we need to do the require. In the front end, we're doing the import. So now that we've got that, we need to actually use this in its middleware. So we need to go do app.use cause. So that's our first step. Okay. Now we've got some data. How cool is that? We've got our cause. We've got it doing the data. It's pulling that data. Look, status okay. Text of something. But if we look at the data here, we've got a object with baz, fizz, foo, with biz, buzz, bar. Okay. So that's actually giving us this data, which is perfect. That's one piece of the puzzle. If we take a look at our app, at the moment we have one piece of the puzzle now. We've managed to get that from a non-local source. Okay. That's one step. Next thing I want to do is go off and maybe try and do the same, but the other endpoint. Buzz endpoint. So let's save that. Now we've got some more data. Let's have a look. And its data is an array of objects with IDs. So this is starting to look interesting because it looks a lot like this buzz results here. So buzz results is just an array of these things. So we now have two components, one component of it and another component of it available to us. Okay, that make up this overall object that are inside this array. So we've got access to those. Now, how can we extract those? What are we going to do? How are we going to set this to something? Okay, let's have a look at what we can do. Let's think of async await. We can have a function that is async. Yeah, so if we have an async function, we can await what we call a promise, which then just waits for it to finish and then gives us a result. So this saves us doing this then thing. Okay, so what we can do is we'll get rid of then. We'll turn this function into an async function. Do an await. So const data1 equals await Axios get of, let's say, fizz. And then let's console.log data1, see what that gives us. Let's save that. Let's go back to our thing. Let's clear this and refresh the page. This gives us, oh, look, the data what we had previously. This is this original fizz one. So I'm going to rename that as fizz res. Fizz res. Call error not defined. Get the data type. Just put res as in fixed res. Whoops, sorry. Fizz res. So now that we've got fizz res, we want to extract the data. So if I just says fizz res dot data and saved it, it's just giving us that object, which is now exactly the same as the initial part of this. We've got this object with these items. Okay, so I can now say const fizz data is equal to fizz res dot data. We've now got that data. Okay, now I'll just look at fizz data. And look, it is that data. That's great. It's a start off. Okay. So we've now got those steps. What happens if we change this to buzz? What does this give us? What do we think? Before I save this, what do you think this is going to give us? Think about it. Okay, for those who said yes, it's going to give us an array of objects. You're right. Give us an array of objects, which happens to be the other part of this data. Yeah. Okay, so now that we've got that other part of the data, that means we could do this again. So I'm going to do this back to fizz for a moment. I'm going to literally copy and paste these three calls, rename the fizz res to a buzz res, rename the endpoint from fizz to buzz, rename the fizz res data to buzz res data and the fizz data to buzz data. And then I'm going to console log the buzz data. Buzz data, not, oh, put biz data. There we go. So now we've got the fizz and the buzz data separately. So these are very close. We've got this chunk of data. We've got this chunk of data. But the only thing we're missing is the idea of this being one item and it having a buzz results. Based upon this, we can just add buzz results, this data, to this data. So let's give it a go. Const. Let's try new data from fizz buzz equals fizz data Okay. I'm going to take fizz data. I'm going to make a new object. I'm going to spread out the content. Yeah. Then we're going to add, what was the name of it? Buzz results. Buzz results, colon, space, buzz data. Okay. It's one way of doing it. There's a lot of different ways. Let's take a look at this. So if I take this, and now I console.log new data from FizzBuzz. Now we take a look at our new data from FizzBuzz. It's got fizz, foo, baz, biz. Yeah, it's got all of the bits and pieces. And it's also got this buzz results. 3 items there, plus the buzz results. How crazy is that? So we've now managed to make almost the same as this, but at the moment, it now needs to be encapsulated inside an array. You can do that quite a few different ways. I'm going to do it in an interesting way. I'm going to make a new array. So say const my data equals a new array. Now, how do we put an item in an array? Think about it. Before I look it up, think about it. Let me know if you do. You know? Think about it. Just how do you do that? A few options. Okay, let's have a look. How to add data to an array in JavaScript. It says how to append, how to add. Method called push. So we've got a push method in JavaScript. I don't particularly want a medium or free code camp. I want to look at the docs. MDN docs, array prototype push. There we go. We've got a bunch of data. We can push another item onto the array. That's all we need to do. So if we've got an empty array, we should be able to push our new data from FizzBuzz onto that array. Let's try it. My data dot push new data from FizzBuzz. And then I want to console.log my data. Let's go and have a look. You take a look, console log my data, which is an array. The 0th element happens to be the other data. Therefore, it's exactly the same thing as we've got here. It's just ordered it in alphabetical order. Yeah. How crazy is that? So the process that we've done, we've managed to manipulate some data from 2 different endpoints, stick it together in a way that matches the same as our local data shape. Now all that's left for us to do is literally get the data like that, return it, and then instead of setting the data to initial data, let's set it to this thing. New data from Axios. Let's try it. New data from Axios. Save. What are we getting? Why are we getting nothing? Dun, dun, dun. Is this a scoping issue? Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Console.log new data from Axios. We'll see what the problem is in a moment. Okay. Let's stop doing all these other console logs. clean up the stuff, see where we're going wrong, hopefully. And this is all the process. It's the process of you figuring out how these things work. Let's refresh the page. Promise. Why are we getting a promise? And why is it pending? Think about it. Do you remember Axios or Vite and things that we're doing here? We're kind of asyncing these things, right? So in reality, we've got a reference to something that's actually not finished yet because it's an async functionality. So what we actually have to do at this point is somehow have this data be awaited. Okay. So this is the problem what we've got at the moment. Okay. So a way around this is, you see where we're setting this data. Instead of waiting inside here, one way of solving this problem is doing all of the stuff. So we've got this my data, yeah? Then we'll do set the data to my data. And then just in the use effect, all we'll do is call get the data. Now what's happening is we don't care that it's a promise because it's fulfilled or pending in this situation. Let's clear it. Let's refresh. Let's say we're not getting any pending or anything because it's setting the data in series. So first it's waiting for Axios to do its thing. It's waiting, it's setting that data. It's waiting for Axios to do its thing, setting the data. It's setting the data there, and then it's finally building out this thing. Then it's creating a new array. It's pushing the data onto the array and then setting the data. So we now have a fully fledged function to do the thing. Now, this now becomes, rather than get the data, it's a little bit ambiguous. Yeah. We'll say set fizzbuzz to state. Okay. Now the data now becomes fizzbuzz, and set the data becomes set fizzbuzz, to be a little bit more descriptive, that's all. So now we can say here, yeah, sorry, here, I'm going to set fizzbuzz. And in doing so, we now need to use fizzbuzz instead of the data when we're looking at this. Okay. Now, if I save it after the refactor, we've got a bunch of problems because I've probably done a typo somewhere. Let's have a look. Unquote reference. What am I doing? Fizz data, blah, 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 fizz. Set fizzbuzz to state. That's because I didn't actually call this. Let's copy that. Not called get the data anymore, is it? Set fizzbuzz to state. Save that. There we go. Clean it up. Refresh. All good. So we've now refactored it, but hopefully you see a pattern. So we've managed to pull some data, extract that data, pull some data off this one, extract that data, combine the data in a way in which it looks in this static data, and then literally replace the concept of that static data with our new data. So now we're utilizing a front-end, back-end technology, and we're using Axios, we're using async and await to approach this problem. Hopefully this has made sense to people. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.